Let's get more on this story now. Sadiq Shaban joins us from Kapsabet town in Nandi County. Sadiq, as we're hearing, Agnes Tirop will be laid to rest shortly in what is, I'm sure, an emotional day, a couple of days there. Tell us more about that and the ongoing police investigations into her murder.
Yeah, you're right, Mahia. That burial ceremony and prayers going on just a few meters from where I am. In the past few minutes, athletes from Uganda, including Joshua Cheptegei, the reigning Olympic champion, Pearl Chemutai, the women's 3,000 meters champion, have arrived in this ceremony, as well as you mentioned, representatives from World Athletics. They are talking about the life of Agnes Tirop, whose life was cut short, with pleas to the government, to the investigative authorities, to ensure that no stone is left unturned, so to speak, and that the killer or the alleged suspect is brought to book. We are aware that already he's been arraigned and he will face his time in courts in the coming days. Mahia, the speakers that are speaking in this funeral are calling on authorities to do more to protect, particularly the vulnerable sportsmen and women of Kenya. There have been calls, particularly during this burial, by female athletes asking the National Olympic Committee of Kenya and the Athletics Federation to spend more time listening to athletes, to spend more time particularly increasing the gender inclusion in terms of coaches and other technical officials into the sport, to be able to give the girls and women in athletics time to be able to confide, so to speak, when matters such as this are happening. We have also heard during this burial issues about mental health being projected very clearly, with calls such as the government to include the issue of athletes' wellness and mental being in their planning. And there have been calls, in fact, for budgetary allocation, really, to try and help athletes, especially those who may have suffered during the lockdown occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic last year. So Agnes Tirop will be laid to rest shortly in her rural home. People are still shocked here at the murder, but they are saying let this be the last moment that they are gathering, not to celebrate an achievement of an athlete, but an event like this. And they are calling on government and everybody to be able to not just have a conversation at this stage, but also to do something about it. So it's going to be a long day here, Maya, very emotional indeed, as you mentioned. And for the people of this place, they are saying they have lost one of their own at just a tender age of 25.
And Sadiq, as you mentioned there, gender-based violence among athletes is reported to be a matter of concern here in Kenya. Why is this the case, and how is the issue then being addressed?
Mahia, the issue of Samuel Wanjiru, who died in controversial circumstances about 12 years ago, was also revisited in this burial. And speakers after speaker are calling on the government to expedite investigation into that case, which was also controversial in nature. And now they are talking about Agnes Tirop, saying the sport of athletics, and not just athletics, but other sports across the country, need to take a very closer look at the plight of particularly women. There have been cases we have reported of gender-based violence, even in basketball in Kenya, and speakers are calling on government and the sports ministry to hasten the investigation into allegations and into reports of gender-based violence, calling on protection of the victims, and quick justice should be dispensed, they say, to the suspects and the perpetrators of gender-based violence. They are calling on government to take a leaf from what was discussed at the Olympic Games. Athletes from around the world spoke about the issue of mental health. They wanted the same conversation here in Kenya, but they are saying again that this should be the last time that an athlete or a sportsman or woman should die as a result of gender-based violence.
All right, Sadiq, thank you very much for speaking to us on Africa Live. Sadiq Shaban in Nandi County, in what is an emotional day in the north of the country. Well, the death of a top Kenyan athlete, Agnes Tirop, has brought to the fore the rising cases of domestic violence and femicide across Africa. The United Nations has called her death the shadow pandemic. Dinah Awuor, a human rights activist, says the COVID-19 pandemic has only worsened the situation.
The pandemic has strained so many people in terms of resources, yeah, economically. For example, in Kenya, we had the lockdowns, yeah. So many people could not do their businesses, yeah. So it meant that most people that were doing small businesses had to stay at home. And you also recognize that people lost their jobs. So you find that a man and a woman who probably were seeing each other in the evening are spending so much time together with very little resources, but so many problems to be sorted. And so that sometimes brings friction, yeah? We must look at the statistics as actual people, not numbers. And it is important that our leadership is seen to carry this issue with the seriousness that it deserves.